I'm going to read Hoppy Esperanza, book number 7. I wrote it. So, forward. This book series is an anthology that doesn't follow chronological order. The order goes 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and number 8 is the epilogue novel. That is all. Chapter 1. A young man is sleeping on the forest floor. This young man is a long way from home. His home is with a Hoppy, and sometimes on occasion mingling at a gathering with the Dene people. The people. His home is with Cactus, Canyon de Chelly, cornfields, trade, hunting, gathering, and roaming. The young Hoppy rouses half awake without opening his eyes. He is somewhere in between a dream and a memory, like being in the mother's womb. A bird, likely a mother singing to her chicks, is chirping. Then a bee visits a flower, only to be caught by a mantid. And a parasitic wasp chases a cockroach among the leaf litter, and the pursuit between the two simply vanishes through the forest into the trees, streams, erosion, spores, and leaf litter. The crisp dusk air is flowing, and unlike the dryness of the desert, which has less insulation via abundant foliage, as well as moisture flowing through breeze and condensation, transpiration, and evaporation, and doesn't have the massive aquifers, watersheds, and underground bodies of water that, if depleted for short-term monoculture, would reveal caverns, rare minerals, gold, and natural history. The young Hoppy man blinks rapidly in a few sessions, rubs his eyes, and stretches his body, writhing around, awakening parallel with everything else gradually, and then suddenly. He furrows his brows and lifts his body, head and all, into a sitting position with his legs still and flat, and he supports his body with a left arm and searches through the area and can see trees, leaves, branches, rocks, odd formations that look like rock, cement chunks and cinder blocks, and what looks similar to something resembling a trail leading to a fork in the path. On the left, it seems akin to a stream bed, while the right fork leads to an ascending plane into higher elevation. The Hoppy man stands and looks to the opposite, a single path leading flatly into the woods. The young Hoppy follows the ladder and starts to try and look around this unfamiliar land and figure out how he'd got into this strange place. He's walking, and walking. He starts to feel his chest pound and steps onto an acorn. The acorn stabs into his calloused heel, and despite being used to the agony of cactus needles, the man jerks his body, letting out a scream, and slips. This is because you are experiencing night blindness. The Hoppy man heard this, and not having ever been introduced to colonialism, assumed that was the sound of an enemy whom has kidnapped him, and is playing with its prey disrespectfully. The body of the Hoppy man is suspended for a split second, and it appears that time slows as he lands onto a tailbone, and in seconds he is making split-moment actions, allowing his body to slide in the midnight twilight through mud, leaf litter, and an assortment of stones. A pebble cuts his leg, but leaves a small scrape, and in the darkness, he survives, falling but manages. Even when the cliffside cuts into his skin bare, and he can't tell if he's being injured or not in the shroud of the drop-off. He stands as a failed attempt to abruptly stop his falling, and falters his balance, attempt, and decision, and he trips and falls forward, smashing his left kneecap onto the blunt surface of a boulder, and in between falling onto an even steeper drop off where he'll begin rolling downward through a clearing without trees into moonlight. He has enough time to process that he's made a single fatal flaw, and he whimpers and tears up. Be fucking careful, damn you. The words in English again do not register as language to the young hoppy man. He starts rolling and blacks out for what would be a few hours, and so needless to say, he manages, as fate would have it, to smash his stomach on a large rock, that which knocks out his wind like a KO in Lucha Libre, and he falls into unconsciousness from the pain, and his body stumbles on autopilot until he gradually stalls and then abruptly halts. His arm is the last thing to move as it lays across the rocks. This movement is natural and as light as a feather. Fuck. Hey, I'ma get down there. This time the hoppy man didn't process what was said, and not only due to having never been introduced to this particular language, but rather because the fall covered a large distance, the hoppy man was unconscious, and because the source of the voice wasn't speaking up enough to carry. The body of that singular voice, one part, and aimless noise, two part, belongs to a Cherokee woman who'd adopted speaking English, succumbing and submitting to patriarchy, and who'd sustained repeated assault at the hands of her white, belligerent English husband, all the while raising his kids, cooking his food, and pretending to smile at some of his jokes, what he'd called jokes and pranks. She never could even lie to herself when the crusty husband would play a cruel trick on one of the slaves, or on another native, or on an Irish slave, or to a stranger, as much of a cracker as he was, such as when he'd kill a man and abduct his wife as property and share her with his drunken fuckfaces, an English victim. The only thing of reciprocity being the pure bloodline, contrasting through their characterization, and being consumed into a pitch-dark hellscape of Stockholm Syndrome. The young Cherokee bride that was made her way carefully down to the young hoppy man at a slow pace so as to avoid tumbling down like Mr. Night Blindness freakazoid down below. She slid down, mud with intention, and hopped in appropriately, sticking each short distance landing, and masterfully sprinted for about 10 entire minutes, fully clothed inappropriately with cut trousers, didn't sprain an ankle flawlessly, jumped and landed right about 15 yards, give or take, next to the young hoppy man, and stood upright with hands on hips like a goddess, or perhaps a heroine, and of course could hear her breathing as she straight fixed an attentive gaze at the young man. You. She had to breathe for a minute and bow, holding her knees, and stood up and moved toward the hoppy man and assessed the blunt force trauma. Holy fuck. You good dude. Jesus Christ, god damn it, I need to, shit. Chapter 1. Okay, like, the voice acting's not good, for one. For one, this isn't finished. For two, chapter 2 is gonna go on for a long time. It's gonna get real bad, real fast. It's gonna get real bad, real fast. Frost zombies! Not only that, it's gonna be sci-fi on book 8. And the whole entire book is gonna be great. It's gonna be so fucking great. You have no fucking idea. You have no fucking idea how good this book's gonna be. You don't even know.